Yeah, I find it to be like really, really interesting. Okay,
Okay,
we're talking about gut
that's
feeling.
that's a big topic, Sergey. You're gonna have to expand a little bit. This is S&G Weekly episode number 6. Sergey, what do you mean by gut feeling?
We're gonna bring on the heat here. So gut feeling. Gut feeling is something where you do something. You're maybe you have thoughts or you're working on something and it doesn't feel right. You have a feeling that you should be doing something different, and it really comes up every now and then whenever you're reflecting or thinking about something and you're maybe outside or in a different environment. And what is important with a gut feeling is, recognize those thoughts, recognize that it is a gut feeling, it's something that you believe to be right, and it's based purely on you. It's based on you knowing yourself. And what I find it's really interesting is that whenever you do something, right, and then you ignore your gut feeling, you end up coming back and then doing the right thing. That's usually what happens. And so it's really important to recognize when you have a feeling of, oh, like it doesn't look right to me now, but I have a feeling it's the right thing to do. So recognizing that and then taking action on this, regardless of what people might be saying or regardless of maybe what evidence you have. I think that is an important part of going the right direction, because usually gut feeling is correct.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why is because, like you kind of alluded to, you're going to have the most amount of information to go off of, right? So ultimately, any educated guess or decision, all you can do is take in the facts and information that you have and think about them, evaluate them, and come up with something. So if you are trying to make a decision and you ask me for my opinion, I can go off only the information that you have told me or that I have gathered in other ways or my own experiences. But ultimately, no one will, unless you're a terrible decision maker, no one will be able to make a better decision because nobody has as much info as you. So, I mean, it might be good to go, if you're comfortable, into detail on what situation, how this
Absolutely.
applies to you, and we
100%.
can talk about that.
Yeah, so the example that I have from this week is, when we talked about, I think it was episode number 3, like, should I do LinkedIn or just focus on LinkedIn for my marketing services and just sell that part, or do go broader? And you suggested do like just focus on LinkedIn, which makes a lot of sense. That's what you should be doing. That's a higher chance of you to, like, for me to sell more, and that's the whole point. But that just on a surface level. But I was thinking about that, and I had a potential client, and their challenges is a lot bigger than just LinkedIn. It goes all the way into how do you position the brand, and how do you develop the right marketing strategy. And so LinkedIn is just this one piece, and essentially what happens for them, it's LinkedIn is only to build partnerships, which are temporary partnerships to sell more product, and then they will need a new target market. They will need a new strategy. So creating a content strategy, coming up with topics, coming up with influencer marketing. And so I looked at that, and I know that this is what I want to be doing. Like, I like LinkedIn, but it's just such a small part of what I want to do. And I realized that if I don't focus on just LinkedIn, it will take me longer to be good or be really great, and potentially longer to monetize my knowledge. But at the same time, like, I'm always after that. Like, I'm always after to know a bigger picture, look into things like pricing and how do we distribute the product or service, depending what it is. And so I like the strategy part. And so I looked at that, and I had this moment yesterday. I was walking outside, and I knew exactly, this is like, I gotta do all this other stuff. And
Right.
so that's how it came about. I knew that in my, like, I felt it in my gut, but it surfaced up again when I walk. I kind of think about what am I working on, what I'm doing, and there's always that anxiety of like, you know, is this the right thing to do or not? But what I learned in the past is that it's usually much better to focus on what you feel is right. But then you won't have all the information. There will be always uncertainty. The key is just to take a decision instead or in spite.
Right. So I have a few thoughts. Well, you know some of them, but the question is like, what's the goal here, right? So in a year from now, where do you want to be?
Sure. The goal is, and that's a great question. That I think that's where everybody should be starting off. Like, what's the goal? The goal is to learn and have a practical experience in marketing strategy, in knowing
But
not just
but so everyone wants to learn and grow, and
yeah.
you know you're passionate about digital marketing. Where do you want to be? Do you want to have an agency? Do you want to be working full time for a company? Do you want to buid an outsource?
Sure.
What's the goal? Because I
Yeah.
think that should guide the rest of this discussion.
100%. 100%. I think so. The goal is to build a portfolio of clients as I'm being marketing consultant, and and then find another path. And I don't know exactly what it is right now. Have a few thoughts what it could be. It's either working in a small startup. It's either working with another consultant. I have a few people in mind who are extremely successful right now in marketing. They help startups build their marketing positioning and marketing strategy, or go back and work in a corporate space on a product that I'm passionate about, mostly to learn more from the corporate perspective. And so that's the goal. The goal is to have a good portfolio right now and to test and learn marketing skills, and at the same time make some money.
Right. That's a pretty broad goal, don't you think?
Yeah.
So here's the reason why I ask is because so when someone's starting out, now this might be a little different for you because your answer was not, well, I want to build a digital agency. If that was your answer, then my spiel right now would be a little bit different. But if you're looking to start and grow your own business, I think you start narrow, and you know that that's how I feel, and we talked about
Yep.
it a few episodes
Yep.
ago. But here's what I think is going to happen with this client that you have. So you found them, you started the conversation. They need all of these things, right? And you're like, "Great, I want to learn all these things, and they will be able to pay me for all these things, so I'm going to do them." What's going to happen is you're essentially going to become either a part-time or a full-time worker. Whether you're fully employed or not is just a a nuance, whatever the piece of paper says that
Sure.
you sign with them. If you, Sergey, want to service them by yourself and help them do all of those things, you're effectively uh, going to have to commit a lot of time and basically be either a part-time or a full-time worker for them. So if you're okay with that, then by all means go ahead. But if you want to do their LinkedIn, help with the branding, help with the Facebook, help with the this, help with, I mean, you're one person, right? And
Yeah.
our previous episode, we talked about wanting 8 hours of sleep, which means you only have 16 other hours when you're awake. And because you have a morning and a night routine, that takes around 2 to 3 hours. So that means, plus if you want to eat. So that gives you like, around 12 hours a day. And there's simply only so much one person can do in 12 hours in a day.
Sure.
If they need help with all these things and you want to help with all those things, you're going to spend most of your time doing it. And so if you're okay with that, that's great. If your goal is to just get experience and they are a good company and you will get a lot of experience using their budget, then that's great. If you want to build a portfolio and potential list of clients for yourself down the road, you
Mhm.
have to narrow your services. Otherwise, you're going to spend all your time servicing one client. And my other assumption is that if you do go down that route, is you're going to be underpaid because they're not going to want to pay you thousands and thousands a month like they would an employee, but you're going to want to do all that work. They're going to need all that work. They're going to ask for a favor. You're going to be like, well, they're a good client, so I'll do them a favor, and that's what it's going to evolve into. So that's one of
Yep.
the many reasons I think it's really important to have a narrow and defined service offering,
Sure. Sure.
because otherwise it very quickly expands, which is very dangerous for the worker, not for the company.
I
So I don't
think
know if any of that resonates or
I
makes
think
sense.
everything you said is spot on. I think every single thing you said is absolutely right, and I completely agree with every point you made. That's exactly what I think as well. One thing I will say is why I would like to do that is and not just focus on LinkedIn because I don't know what I would enjoy the most and where I would be the strongest in. So I'm in a test and learn phase. And I think that is extremely important. I want to consciously take time to test and learn a bunch of different things on in marketing to know where I can make the biggest impact and then what area I can niche down on. Because I know that LinkedIn marketing, I can make it work right now 100% with a lot of clients. That's a fact. But me being ENFP or whatever the personality who's like likes to do different things, I want to be really, really, really good. That's a must. Like it's like I don't want to be anything below amazing. Uh, I want to test and learn a lot of different areas, which I didn't have an opportunity to do in my corporate world, in my corporate job before. I realized that I was so limited, I couldn't do anything. I was just doing a little small slice. And right now I have this great opportunity to learn and see, okay, this is very cool. I understand that. Maybe I don't understand that. And then after when I have the knowledge, I will know very specifically, okay, I'm focusing on marketing positioning. I can help guys with marketing positioning, which would be a very narrow offer, really hard to do ideally. So most people won't do it. And I can do it extremely well. And your strategy will be fully applicable. But I think what you're saying is absolutely right. But it's just the test phase is I think is a bit different.
Right, right. So, okay. So it makes sense if you're kind of going back to the test phase, because if I think a few months ago or even a few weeks ago, one of the thoughts or plans was I want to build out an agency. In which
Yes,
case, in which case I think LinkedIn services were a great way in, because you get in with a
right.
few clients and something you're strong in, and then they come to you and say, "Oh, well, I need help with A, B, and C," and you can be like, "Oh, well, yeah, I can try it A, B, and C," and that's how you would get your variety once you kind of get
Right.
your foot in the door and the revenue in, and or you outsource the LinkedIn part so you don't have to do the thing that you don't, maybe you're not as excited about. Um,
I
so
think both work.
yeah, I mean both work, but it sounds like you've shifted your kind of goal and focus. So it makes more sense to take the approach you're taking now. So you want to do something marketing related. You don't know what it might be for another company, and so you want to use the opportunity you have now to explore a bunch of them,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot
Like
of sense.
yeah, like for example, like I love Instagram. I would never. I barely. I love it because I understand. Like I have a better understanding. I learn more how it works, how people react to the picture, to the copy. Is there a value? So I like that. Twitter, I don't really care too much about that. And so like. As I do more, I'm able to know like what is interesting and what looks good, and then how like do I have to spend time on it. So I mean I think there are multiple ways to go about that. Like one way is still a viable option, but I have a feeling that it's not quite the right approach at the moment for me. So I'm going a slightly different direction. The goal is the same. The goal is make a certain amount of money per month and then build a portfolio of clients, which could work with either an agency or being a consultant. I mean, I think I would rather be a consultant because it's just easier. But again, it's like agency versus consultant. There's a little difference there unless you hire people, right?
Yeah, yeah. I had a thought. What was I going to say? I mean, so the other thing, I mean, finances are usually always an important factor, because the way I've thought about that stuff is I definitely want more experience in digital marketing too. Um, if you are in a position where you're making enough or you don't need to make much, I recommend learning digital marketing by doing it for your own brand. So like I've been playing around with Facebook ads and stuff. Sure, I could go out and like try and find a client and help them do it. Or if you are able to use your own funds and use your own brand, that's a good way to get practice too. I don't know if that's an option for you. It'll depend on the person, the financial
Of
situation,
course.
whether you have other streams of income, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I have the two. I have my solopreneur grind brand and I have my main gig, which I'm lucky that is going well and bringing in income. So what I'm doing is I'm using that extra revenue to test digital marketing on my own brand.
Yes.
I think the benefits of that are complete and utter freedom. So you don't have to answer to a boss. And number two is you're growing your own brand. You're not growing a client's brand. So like what I thought about actually a lot in the
Yep.
last week was what do I want a year or two from now? What I want a year or two from now is not necessarily, and what I want is different from what you want. But for
Of course.
my situation, it's I don't need a portfolio. I don't care about a portfolio. I don't want to work for a lot of other clients. For my main gig, all I
Yep.
do is service clients, and it can be a pain in the ass. I mean, I have great
Yes.
clients, but working for clients will always in some way be a pain in the ass. So what do I want from 2 years down the road? I want to build Solopreneur Grind and have a big email list and following so that I
Right.
can just provide content to them, give value to them, turn them, some of them into customers, and probably sleep a lot better at night and enjoy what I'm doing and help other people. So when I was thinking about, okay, well, what's the best way then to learn digital marketing?
Hmm.
I'm just gonna use my own money and learn from experience because A, it's easier, B, it's quicker, C, it's not cheaper, but I can afford it right now, and in the long run, it's going towards that end goal. So that's why I started with, okay,
Yep.
what's your goal? Because
Yep.
that'll determine your strategy. I think your strategy is much more in line with your goal, whereas my strategy, which is different from yours, is in line with my goal.
Yeah.
So that's what's
Which is
most
the way it's
important.
supposed to be. And by the way,
Hmm.
guys, just to wrap it up, why we on this rant, it's about the gut feel. Do what you feel is right. And if it's not right, whatever, change it. Like, it's funny. I was so a meeting with a product manager. He works at Amazon. We met up this week. It was just the second time. The first time I met him was a couple of months ago. He gave me a book on product, which I was considering doing at that time. And then I just wanted to return the book. So we had a quick chat. He told me about one guy who obviously wants to be a product manager, reached out to him on LinkedIn. And he said, and he was this person I was meeting, he was suggesting him how to apply for a job. And it just occurred to me only now, before it didn't for some reason, is, well, if you want the job, then, well, be a product manager. Start doing the work on your own project. Open YouTube, open internet. It all has step-by-step approach. Start implementing it and then show it to somebody in the company you'd like to work for, and then say, hey, I can do XYZ for free. And then be a
Hmm.
bartender across the road and then do the work for free. You're going to be a product manager. And so you don't have to have experience, because how many people will actually do that? Well, almost nobody, or like zero probably. Like, who's going to be working for free? They won't, and that's good, because that's really when you can learn on your own instead of Netflix, and then you can apply it. It kind of echoes a little bit with your learning on marketing, like by yourself. I totally believe in that. I think it's the best. Like, learning by yourself is awesome, and ideally you want to work with somebody else because you can accelerate the learning model what they're doing. That's the reason I would like to work with some other consultants, because I can see I can fast track a lot of stuff that way. But like, there's always a way. if you and so I think, yeah, just like following the, like, doing something unconventional is important. And I find one of the things I was talking to you about is when I was putting up my services page on my website, and I said, look, I'm not the number one marketing consultant. That's one of my advantages. And it's like, it's a weird one, right? Because most people will never put it up. But the reason for that is, well, because I'm not number one, what does it really mean for you? It means that I'm going to work harder, and then I'll have to do more to earn your trust. And if you believe that, then I come off as an honest person. And I offer a free trial, by the way, as well. So it's hard to say no.
You know what I just realized? I'm reading Ogilvy on advertising. Did you take that from the
Yes,
Avis
I
ad?
did. Yes,
Yeah.
it
I
inspired.
just read it last night.
It was an
That's so
inspiration.
fun.
It was an inspiration. I was reading that book, and then Avis, this car rental service, did the same. We were number two, and I was, it was like a random, like I read it, forgot it, and then when I was coming up with my differentiation points, when I was building my page, like how am I better? Like, do I know more? No. Do I have experience? Do I have a lot of clients that I've already did like worked with? No. So what do I actually do? Look, I don't want to say I built a pipeline for the company and I was one of the 100 people on the team because that's not meaningful. But like I'm not number one. That's an advantage.
Yeah, it's just you got to be careful with how you word it.
Of course.
So Avis admitted they're number two. Number two is still pretty damn good. But yeah, I mean, everything you said about, the PM role, and it's effectively the same strategy that I'm using at its core, which, it just makes a lot of sense. It's never been easier to just learn
Yep.
anything and start doing, and there's so many resources. You could learn anything just from YouTube or Google
Exactly.
or books. Like there's
Books
no
are amazing.
excuse not to at least try something. So
Yeah, like $18. $18 on Amazon, the best ROI you can possibly get on anything are the book. The real content, the books that went through time and are still there, are still relevant, are way more important than a blog that will be down tomorrow. Nobody's going to remember it. So why are we spending that much time on blog?
yeah, I mean you can find some good content on blogs, but it depends on which ones and some videos too. But anyways, never been easier. I think that's a good note to end on, Sergey. We're past the 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I think it's just like one of the things I want to kind of leave you guys with is follow what you feel is right, and just think about like what is the feeling that you have, who you want to be, what you want to do, and then you'll always find a way. There's always a way, and if you don't know it now, that's not a problem. That's okay. That's actually a good thing because you never know like how and you'll be able to figure it out by yourself. There will be people who will help you, but it's important to follow what you feel because it will save you time down the road, even though it might feel scary at the moment.
For sure. Good note to end on. Sergey, pleasure as always.
Yeah, it was great. It's great. Thanks, Josh. Have a good one.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.